Let me put the title as if it is the science of self-discovery, bridging wisdom and the truth. Last time we discussed that realizing real self, we discussed about real self, we discussed about awakening, we discussed about realization. So, realizing the real self is like you are proving. We studied in mathematics and especially in geometry that sum of angles of a square is 360 degree. So you also say yes because you know it, and the teacher also says yes. Do you recognize that it is 360 degree? Yes. The moment you say yes, the master says prove it. So when you prove it by a very process, and the master checks that you have applied all the aspects correctly, you get 10 out of the 10. Exactly the same thing. Real self, master says, first understand you are real self. You are of the nature of peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. 100%. You have to prove it. What happens when you prove it? That proving changes your mind and helps you to realize that I'm of the nature of the real self. That is the journey of East and West. But in that proving, it does not mean it is exactly like that you are sitting in a classroom and you are proving it. So classroom of the Eastern wisdom is entire life, the whole world. It means I must remember how to think, speak, and act with people in relationship outside in the world. I should contemplate and reflect on the principles. I should continue to do the practice. So that classroom is the entire world of the problem. The sum of angles of a square is 360 degrees, so you have to prove it in a classroom. So here the classroom is the entire world. How you think, speak, and act in the world daily. How many times you had the anxiety, duality, and a conflict, and how you address them. If you did not address them with the wisdom, with the clarity, with the contemplation and reflection, then we fall down from being a seeker. How simple it is to understand in that way. So realize, when the moment we say realize our true nature, in the Eastern wisdom, I have to prove it. What do you mean by prove it? Are you calm at this moment? Is the mind not visiting? Is the mind is not going anywhere? You are going to dine in a restaurant, the mind is not going anywhere. It is focused on the food. Just see that. It means what? There is a contentment inside. I'm happy. Yes, I've come here to food you. Oh, let there be 10 beautiful girls or ugly girls. Who cares? That is proving. Master also says in a classroom, don't look at other notes. Look at your own self. Prove it by yourself. That is what we are guiding gently. So what happens when we start that journey with the clarity? There is an initial awareness of a deeper reality beyond the surface level of the mind. What it means, you wake up in the morning
Girish,
and
hang on one second. There's this fan and it's distracting me. I need to turn it off. Hang on.
okay, okay. So that awakening is nothing but the initial awareness. What is that awareness? It is known as the light. What is known as the light? So in Eastern wisdom, we use the word light. In deep meditation, you will experience the light. It has nothing to do with this kind of a light. It is the light of awareness. In that light of awareness, you see, oh, mind identifies, mind is attached, let me drop it and see. That is awakening. So you have a square, all angles are 90-degree, so you extend the line on the top and then you measure, oh, this is also 90-degree, this is also 90-degree, this is also, and this is also 90-degree. Oh, opposite angles have the same dimension, 90-90. Hence, I have proved this is 90-degree. My senses goes to you, but there is no sensuality. It is proving both the angles are. That is the level of understanding we needed, but the mind does not understand what the intellect understands. To make your mind understand and awaken, we have to do the repeat listening and learning, contemplation and reflection and a practice. And I am living with that light of consciousness in the classroom. That classroom is the world outside. It is like waking up from a dream, realizing the illusion, and it is like you wake up and you see the dawn, where you begin to see the outlines of the world. There is a dawn. Oh, just before that, I was totally sleeping unconsciously, but now there is a light of consciousness by which I am aware of the world. Those metaphors are used for saying that there is a sense of awakening. And what is realization? It is a direct experiential knowledge of the real self. You declare that I am the real self. Finished. Not only you declare, but you know it that I am the real self. Finished. It's a direct experience. It is the direct experience, like I see you and you see me. No, it is indirect experience. What do you mean? No, I'm seeing you directly. No, you don't see me directly. You are seeing through your mind and the sense organs. So sense organs and the mind are coming in between seeing. It is indirect perception. So what is a direct perception? There is no interference of this sense organs, there is no interference of the mind. Is that possible? Yes, that is what the realization is. So normally we have a false notion, oh, I have seen you directly. No, you see through the sense organs. You are not the senses. How can you say you have seen me directly? The mind has processed the memory information and then you said that you are this person. Oh, so that another indirect perception. Yes. Senses and the mind always have an indirect perception. They cannot have a direct perception. That is why we close our eyes to practice meditation. We don't want any interference of the mind in the sense organs. So, understanding that real self, that understanding is direct perception, that understanding is realization after the awakening. And then I recognize that it is beyond the time, space, and the form I have realized. So, awakening is the initial awareness, a shift in my perception. What is a shift in my perception? Before I used to get attracted, get attached to the world of people, of place, of things, but now as such there is no attraction. Same object is there, same person is there, same relations are there. So there is a shift in perception. That is known as, you can say that is known as awakening. And what is realizing? Deep experiential understanding.
What does it shift to?
I see it, and now because of my mind, garbage is filled in the mind because of the impurity. So that garbage sees that person and says, "You are crazy, he is crazy." I react to it.
Yeah.
Now all those reactions have gone. It is a shift in perception.
Yeah, so when you're awakened, what does it shift to though? Like what like when you
Shift
are
from your past impressions, shift from your impurities of the mind, shift from the impurities of the mind that impulsively wants to react. Now there is no impulsivity, no reaction, just a pure awareness. That is a shift, great shift in perception.
Yeah.
There's a great shift. Why it is a great shift? You remain calm. You're not affected. You're not affected. So that is a shift in perception. And what is realizing? That becomes permanent. That state is permanent now. Awakening is like a light bulb goes on. Very good. Realizing is stepping into the light. You step into the light. Awakening is a shift in perspective. And realizing is clarity. No longer doubt is there. Now that shift in perception has gone. It has become a permanent perception for me. Awakening, that is why we say it's a beginning of a journey in the life of a seeker. Realizing is the culmination of that journey.
I want to ask you something, and this is just off topic, but it came to my mind about being awakened. Have you heard this saying that right before anyone dies, everyone becomes awakened? And so you can either become awakened like in the journey of your life, like I'm working on now at age 36, or if I never tried my whole life, it would happen right before I died. Have you heard of that or no?
So if you are crazy throughout your life, at the time of the death, you are more crazy.
Okay. So I thought so.
That is your awakening. How it is possible? The whole life you lived with all kinds of obsession and reaction, and at the time of the death, you awaken to the reality. Is it possible?
It didn't sound possible, no.
We have to put some logic, some understanding also.
Sure.
So many people who wants to run the cult in dogma and belief, they will say, please, I will show you the light. What kind of a light? Very bright yellow light. I don't want to see yellow light because I can see through my naked eyes. Why the hell I have to see the yellow light in meditation when I can see through my eyes? It has nothing to do with any awakening or realization.
Mm.
But it does not mean if you experience those moments, it is also a progress. It is a sign of the progress. That is all.
Mm.
That's all. Mind has become subtle. That is all. But it is not the end of the story.
Mm.
So, how it is possible the whole life I'm a criminal? Then it becomes very easy. A whole life I'm a criminal, I'm a cheater, I'm a gang leader, and then there is no problem. Then my profession is gone.
Yeah.
There is no need to follow any religion or any cult or any dogma or any the entire Eastern wisdom, because you already know that you will be awakened at the time of the death. So those people who want to run their dogma, belief, and cult, they have to create such thought process so that their profession continues, and they can take they can squeeze the money and other stuff from other people.
Yeah.
So again, go back to the square. The sum of angles of a square is 360 degree. Yes. So, but I don't know how to prove it. I have proved it long back, 45 years ago when I was studying mathematics. So I forgot. Same way, my real self is of the nature of peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. But I don't recognize. Yes, the way you have forgotten the very process, Eastern wisdom helps you to revive that process to recognize that. That is what is happening. Simple.
Mm.
So awakening is the initial recognition away from the world of duality and conflict and confusion and delusion. And realization makes it permanent. Now you don't see conflict in you. When people say conflict, you say it's a matter of ignorance. Are you ready to listen? So then you talk about it. You're not ready to listen, you continue. That is the way the world is. Can someone be awakened without realizing? Yes. You may have certain glimpses of that state of consciousness. Yes, it is possible. But then you don't make an effort, so the realization does not happen in your life. It is possible. How does awakening leads to realization? I always wake up in the morning and I see the dawn. The morning means I'm aware of the light. I'm aware of the light. I'm aware of the world outside. In deep sleep, I'm not at all aware. So obviously, it helps me. So I'm aware of a different state. I'm aware of there is a mental, it is also known as the mental maturity. We say the mental maturity has come. Why the mental maturity? Because the mind is not running after any kinds of pleasure seeking because of identification and because of the attachment, because of the sensuality. Mind is not running anywhere. Wherever you sit, you are sitting there like a lion because whose focus is intense. Finished. Your focus is not distracted into the sensuality, into the attachment, into the duality, into the conflict, into the delusion. Delusion is not there in the world outside. Delusion is happening in my mind because of impurity, because of ignorance. So that is what the awakening. How to tell if we are truly awakened? Sometimes people ask me this. True awakening leads to almost you shift instantly. Sometimes you shift, it takes time, but ultimately you shift. There is a shift in perception. The ego driven responses are not there. The false I driven responses are not there. It is there because of the delusion and reaction. Or you can say you are 100% self oriented, not the other oriented. How dare you say that? Oh, whatever you said, thank you very much. Let me find my way. Self oriented. You are not other oriented. Why this guy, why this guy, abused me and reacted to me? Self oriented. So the self oriented guy reflects, oh, maybe because of his attitude and person. Did I react? No, I did not react. Did I create any problem to him? No. Oh, still he is reacting. Oh, let me leave it and just shift in perception. A great shift in perception. It has to happen. What to do when awakened but not realized? Do nothing, continue the practice. Continue the journey. Can awakening happen multiple times? Why multiple times? Millions of times. People get awakened, but because they don't follow the Eastern wisdom, they don't recognize it. My dear honey, I have 100% sensuality, and people in the society recognize, look at this couple, how they love each other, but that love is attachment, and my honey dies, and I get totally frustrated and suffering. In that suffering, I recognize nothing is permanent. So nothing is permanent, hence I will not remarry. But that awakening lives for a few seconds because I don't understand the principles. So then I get a friend says, come on, now you are young, get married, you'll have a happy life. Oh, I cannot say that I already seen the happy life. The end of the happy life, I have already seen it. I don't dare to say because these thoughts are not coming. I'm impulsive. My impulses are still there because I'm deeply attached. So I remarry. This is, that is why one has to listen and learn this Eastern wisdom. The teacher, that is why we say the teacher will come. Teacher, you have to listen to the teacher, contemplate and reflect.
Why do we get attached to things that we think we love?
We don't love, it is attachment.
I know, but we mistake love for attachment. It's not like the stranger that I don't love, I'm not attached to that. It's only things that I think I love.
That is ignorance. That is why we say we live in ignorance.
Yeah.
First is the identification. Identification that I define myself with something outside. I'm a man, that is also an identification. I'm rich, that is also an identification. I'm smart, that is also identification. Your identification, I'm very strong, look at this, physically smart. So identification, mind triggers emotions, and then you are attached to that defining, that definition. Attachment to that definition results into emotional dependence. Emotional dependence leads to binding desire. What is binding desire? I'll continue to remain strong, healthy like this. Really? Can you show me any guy? Any guy? I don't know. This is 66 years old machine. What I could do at the age of 20, I cannot do at this age. But I have already defined myself from the point of view of age of 20. Then that is binding desire. And it all results into delusion. And delusion results into ignorance. So the whole cycle repeats when I'm strongly built, I like this food, another defined definition. I'm I'm your son, another definition. I'm rich, another. The whole life, throughout the day, we define and identify.
Yeah.
That is the answer to your simple question.
What about like does the awakened one like feel emotion? Like is it okay to feel sad or happy if you like
You recognize the mind is sad,
yeah, yeah.
and but you are away in that state of awakening. You only recognize the mind is sad, so be sad. I'm different from you.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So you
I'm
still have
happy.
emotions.
Yeah. So you have a full emotion. Emotionfulness. Emotionfulness means that emotion is not divided. By the mind, it is divided. I am sad today. I am angry tomorrow. I am emotionally attached to you the day after. No, emotionfulness.
What does that mean?
You have pure emotion that is flowing. It does not divide. It is not divided by the mind. The mind divides based on its utility, based on its impulsive nature. I like you, so I'm concerned about you. I hate you, so I'm damn concerned about you. So I have two sets of emotion. It is created by the mind, but in awaken it is a higher state. It is beyond the mind. So there is an emotion is already there. You are concerned. So that emotion normally is talked about empathy. It is talked about emotional resilience. It is also talked about devotion to the God. So you recognize that emotion is not fragmented by the desire prompting mind. Then you have that awakening. So understanding the real self in science and the Eastern wisdom. What modern psychology says, realizing is often linked to self-awareness. That much is there. Or an aha moment. People in the US, they talked about aha, a sudden clarity about one's identity or purpose. It is the process of recognizing or becoming conscious of a deeper truth about oneself or the world. But science, please tell me, what is your deeper truth? So they simply explain rationally, but they don't mean anything. But still, those who only go by the science, it may help what is the deeper truth. What is the truth at the surface and what is the truth at the deeper level? So they continue and ultimately they land up in the spiritual wisdom, and that is what the Eastern wisdom. So in Eastern wisdom we say the process of realization is linked to self-inquiry. Whereas I inquire, who am I? And I realize that I am of the nature of peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. It cannot be altered. Once I reach to that state, that is the realization. So science does not give me a clear answer. Realize. So basically, realize and reason It's a Latin word. If we go a little deeper into this Latin
Hmm.
word and we find the etymology of that word, it means actual or true. Ask the science to define what is actual and true. Everything is relative reality. Science works in relative, objective reality. It does not work in the absolute reality. So forget about they can define what is actual and real. Because whatever they define, it will be constantly changing. So Eastern wisdom says, no, there is a state which is unchanging, which is all pervading, which is eternal. Now think, anything that is all pervading, it has no space where it can change. So it means that is why it is all pervading. That is why it is beyond time. That is why it is the absolute truth. But for the science, that is not possible. Because it has to work in the objective world, the material world. So we are talking. We want to prove it that we are the real self. So we have started the journey. We want to prove. The sum of angles of a square is 360 degree. So we have taken the first step. Now, when you say it is all pervading, it means there is no space left where the real self is not. Oh, really? So it means it cannot change. Oh, that is what we are saying. It cannot change. It is unchanging. So what is unchanging? It transcends the past, present, and the future. So hence it is eternal. By deduction logic, we come to this. It is truth, it is eternal, it is all pervading. Because it is all pervading, it cannot be objectified. I cannot see through the senses and the mind. Out of the three attributes of the real self, I come to this conclusion: I cannot see through the sense organs and the mind. Then how do I see? I have to transcend the mind and the body. Yes, then we will come to the impurity of the mind and ignorance. Let me get rid of it and then see what happens. Wait. Master says, wait. Don't be in a hurry. You have proved only one angle of a triangle is 90 degree. You have to prove the other three also. Prove. But prove in a classroom, in case of a square. And what is our classroom? The entire world. Means how I think, speak, and act 24 hours a day. How many times I was into anxiety, duality, and a conflict I have gone. Now I have backtracked the journey of the Eastern wisdom. I have no moment today. You can see, you can have the glimpse. Oh, it is possible. If it is possible 24/7, then it is possible forever. Proving. So modern wisdom, modern science says that the real is often used to refer to what is tangible, what is measurable, what is concrete. What is concrete? Science says what is concrete. So is this wall concrete? So those who have not studied the science, they will say yes, the wall is concrete. Those who have studied the quantum physics, they say no, nothing is concrete in this world. Nothing is solid. It is made up of waves, electromagnetic waves. So we are going with a confusion in the science about the absolute reality. In Eastern wisdom, we are 100% clear, absolute reality. Eternal, all-pervading, cannot be objectified, it is the truth. Oh, I have understood it. Now prove it. That proving is to become a seeker. and to continue the journey. That real is absolutely real. So even if you look at, I told you, realize, real, realization, they all came from the Latin word which means actual and real, but the definition of actual and the real in science and in the Eastern wisdom are different altogether. So we have to use the definition of the Eastern wisdom, then only we can prove. Otherwise, if you take the definition of the real from the science and you say this is what the science says, then you are crazy. It doesn't work. Then you are not a seeker. If I'm studying physics, I should continue to study physics, matter. I'm studying chemistry, so I have to. No. What about the cell? Don't ask me unnecessary question. You study physics, then focus on the physics. I have to apply the principles of physics. When I'm studying the cell, I have to apply the principles of the cell. So people try to be smart, but they suffer. In modern psychology, the self is the perception of my identity or individuality. That is why I explained you identification. So in modern psychology, the concept of the self begins with an identification. We say identification is the main problem. You have to drop identification, because from identification you have an attachment, you have an emotional dependence, and then emotional dependence, then you have a binding desire, then desire prompting activities that results into a delusion. You get rid of the delusion, you drop your identity.
How do you drop your identity though? Like when
that is what
we live in
journey
a
is
well,
making it.
like
You're asking me the last question. You have to prove it step by step.
I mean, I live in a world full of transactional. Like everybody sees me as Nick. So how do I drop
You
that?
have to understand step by step. That is the last question to be asked. That is the last question to be asked.
Okay.
If the child, he heard, oh, there is a electron in my ball, and he goes to the dad. "Oh, where is the electron in a ball?" You cannot find it. You are still in a 5th grade. So first you pass the high school, you pass the undergraduation, you have the graduation. There you study the fundamental physics, fundamental element, that is matter. All the matter consists of molecules. Molecule consists of atom, and then the atom consists of electron, proton, and neutron. So I have to follow the entire process. So you're asking the last question in the beginning.
Okay.
So modern self-identity. Another way the master answers this question is answered at least in 50 different ways. That is the beauty of the Eastern wisdom. Another answer, master says, you drop your all the identities that is borrowed, that is conditioned, that comes from the society, and then see whether you continue to exist or not. What? Second answer. Third answer. What identity you have in deep sleep? No identification. 50 answers. It means the same problem can be solved in variety of ways. That is the beauty. So Eastern wisdom says that yourself is independent of all the identities and attachments and delusion. You identify yourself, you create an individuality. Today that I am rich, and the next day Elon Musk becomes the richest guy, you are the second and you are frustrated. Where is your identification gone? So you are saying identification? Come on. You are making me crazy. So self-realization in contemporary psychology, self-realization refers is the recognition that individual self is not separate from the ultimate. No, in modern science we say the self-realization is the process of becoming fully aware of my abilities, my potential. What do you mean? That is also a wrong approach. That is what the modern psychology, in contemporary psychology, they talk about it. So self-realization in modern psychology, they define it it's a process of becoming fully aware of one's abilities, potential, and unique essence. Oh, very good. Neil Armstrong landed on the moon. So I become fully aware I can also land on the moon, which is not true. So when I'm aware of something outside me that is different, that is separate from you, how can it be a self-realization? You are wrong. So in Eastern wisdom we say, we are of the essence of the real self. Where you see the individuality, drop it through the mind, so that the mind also drops. You transcend the mind. It is something like, exactly something like at a very deeper level. I think, therefore I am. That is what the modern science talks about. We say I am, therefore I think. I am, therefore I am aware of the mind. Now the mind is aware of my abilities. It is the third great possibility. This is what you say self-realization. It is a wrong approach. It is the wave realizing I am an ocean. What is the percentage of water in a wave? 100%. It has to be 100%, otherwise it cannot be wave. It is 100% water. And what is an ocean? It is also 100% water. So I lose the layer, I lose the name and the shape of that wave. I am an ocean. I am an ocean. That realization takes place in the journey of Eastern wisdom. Hey, you see it blast, it transforms. So that very definition of a child in modern psychology about self-realization, and that is also not going according to the understanding what the science stands for. The science stands for reality, objective reality, right rationality. But here their rationality is totally irrational. Think. You take a clay pot. Tell me what is the percentage of clay in the pot? It is 100%. So where is the pot exist? pot exists in appearance. That pot exists in appearance, but otherwise it is all clay. So
So,
I appear as a clay pot. What is that clay pot? Whose name, whose profession, identities. You drop this identity. Identities do not exist. Who are you? You define yourself with your identities. What is the identity of a clay pot? What is the identity of a clay brick? What is the identity of a clay that marble or that floor or the kitchen aisle in the kitchen? Identity. But aisle is 100% clay or not? Brick is 100% clay or not? It is 100%. I am 100% that pure consciousness. That is the journey we are undertaking. That is the journey we are undertaking. We see that what is the identity of a hammer? Steel hammer. It is steel or it is iron. Now take an example of this clay pot. So you say, why don't you understand? You say clay pot. Okay, let me take the clay out and you keep your clay pot.
it doesn't work.
That is what the real self is. That is what the absolute reality is. So we are on an adventure to realize that real self. So in modern psychology, we talk about it. It's okay. We talk about self-development. We talk about self-realization. We have coined another word, self-actualization. But ultimately, they fail to convince. They fail to help me. Or they fail to help the seekers because they refer to the identities.
It creates duality.
It creates duality. I think, therefore I am. They start from there. So I think is coming from the mind, and you are not the mind. The mind cannot know who the real self is, because the mind itself is created by the real self. It is all a manifestation of the real self. It is a child. If you ask the child, to whom, which parents you are born, is the parents came before or you? So they talk about in a different way. It does not make any sense that realization, I made it very clear what is this realizing word and the realization. There is another word in Eastern wisdom we use, sakshatkar. Sakshatkar is roughly translated into English as a direct perception without the interference of the mind and the senses. That is the right word we use for realization. It's a direct. It is immediate. It is instant. So the moment you have a direct perception, just imagine you have a direct perception. What is that direct perception? Think that ocean is a human being and ocean is a God. Just think ocean is a God. Now that God looks at the wave in the ocean. So the ocean looks at the wave as water minus name and the form. Then God says, we are one. But from the standpoint of the wave, when wave looks at the ocean, you are so big, I'm so small. So you are identifying first with the body and the mind, and then you are saying, I'm so small.
Mm.
And you are so big, how can I be you? I have to break this wrong notion. It takes the journey step. So then there is a direct perception. What is direct perception? The wave also perceives without its name, without any identity with the body and the mind, with the past impressions, what happens. You are an ocean. You are the real self. You are the supreme consciousness. That is known as the word sakshatkar. Buddha uses the word nirvana. So many American authors translate that as an ultimate liberation from the cycle of birth and the death. It is the state of total peace, free from the desire, suffering, and attachment. They are good. They have rationalized, more or less, they have approached real. Nirvana means that all your attachment, identification, duality, delusion, ignorance has come to an end. Then whatever is left is the state of nirvana. We also use another word, mukti, sakshatkar, nirvana. I told you self-realization, mukti. Mukti also aligns with the nirvana. It's a cycle of birth and the death. Cycle of vicious circle of the ignorance and delusion is already gone completely, and then you. So sakshatkar is an instant recognition and realization. It's a direct perception. It's a direct perception. Can you imagine a wave? Wave recognizes I'm an ocean. He has left the identification with the body and the mind. There is an immense joy. So when we reach to that state, there is an immense joy. That immense continuity of the joy is known as bliss. And we people, we are great intellectuals, so we use the bliss for some sexual activity. Can you live in the bliss by sexual activity even for 24/7? Show me. So we just misuse these words to make a. On the LinkedIn, one group from Canada, one couple approached me that you come and give a talk on the tantra. I said, what do you mean by the tantra?
Sex tantra?
No, they say tantra is a sexual union. What a crazy stuff. I said, I'm very busy. Tantra. There are three meanings. So 2 syllables. One meaning is expansion of the mind and the liberation of energy that dissolves all your ignorance and you reach to the highest state. That is known as the tantra. And their definition, it is a sexual union. People have everything in the world is good. Can realization be achieved without going through the suffering? Think of it.
That's a good question, because I would I like that question because I know that my suffering led me to you.
If you don't have a fever, then you are not aware of that fever, then you don't go to the doctor to get the diagnosis done what is the cause of the fever. So in fact your pain and the suffering helps you to raise your awareness,
Yeah.
obviously. So I have to recognize, I have to appreciate that. So definitely, can realization be achieved without going through the suffering? Another answer is very interesting. The moment you are with the body, you will have a suffering. The
Yeah.
body has the pain and the pleasure. Body has a health and the sickness. Body is not, I'm not at all aware for a couple of months when I'm born. As I born, I get hurt when I'm playing outside. I return to the mom and I start crying. Crying is a way to be aware. And I grow older. Now sometime I have the unwanted situation that I cannot resolve and I continue to suffer. So ultimately, all the suffering helps me to raise my level of awareness. And for a seeker's life, one seeker, no, there are a couple of seekers and who became great masters. They say that if there is no suffering, how can I recognize that there is a real self which is beyond suffering?
Yeah.
There should be a contrast. Is realization one time or a gradual process? Depends on you. How much impurities you continue, how much conditioning you have, and it came from the previous birth, and how much conditioning you have, with what intensity you are practicing. It depends on it. It can happen in 1 hour, it cannot happen in years together. What is the role of meditation? Yeah, great role. Meditation has a great role, but the meditation means the knowledge, means understanding plus practice. If the knowledge is not there, you are practicing even after 50 years, you will have the same experience of blue light in meditation, but it does not take you anywhere. Blue light or red light or orange light, or I have sensations. Science can create all kinds of sensations by drug, by electric shock. That has nothing to do with awakening and real self. We have to be very clear. Is the pursuit of realization selfish or selfless? I'm answering.
Selfless.
It has to be selfless.
Yeah. They may perceive it as selfish, but they don't know.
It is purely selfless. And once we understand it, we have taken a stride in the journey. Can realization lead to inner peace in the face of external chaos? Yes. Obviously, you are not impacted by anything happening in the world outside. Even you have an extreme pain in the body, but still you have a light of awareness. That has nothing to do with blue light, or you have a light of awareness that separates the physical pain from the real self. Internally you are still in peace. Outside you may cry, it's okay, it's a part of the life. But internally, answer is no, you are happy.